You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Bruce, I would be remiss if I didn't give you a platform to talk about some of the things that go around in the IWC. I guess let's talk about how the NWA did drop into your lap. A lot of people speculate that Mr. Bruce Tharpe maneuvered it to where he could hostile take over the company. Can you enlighten the listeners on what really happened?
Sure. To be honest, it's kind of like ancient history, but I was asked actually to be president of the NWA, brought in by some people that were on the board at that time. I was brought in as not on the board, but I actually bought into the company, so I was stockholder, and there was just some issues that came about that just seemed shady to me, improper, and even borderline illegal. And I started to do some investigation on it. This became apparent to me within about 2 or 3 months of me being part of the NWA. And I just met a lot of resistance from the board at that time. And I felt like I had been taken advantage of and was basically told, too bad. I felt like I was being bullied. And so if you're being bullied by somebody, you have a choice. You either roll over and allow yourself to be bullied, or you stand up and defend yourself. Well, I stood up and defended myself because I didn't respect myself as a man, and I felt, that I was being taken advantage of by people that were doing things wrong if I didn't stand up for myself and defend myself. So that's what I did. I stood up and defended myself, and boom, eventually, within months, these people had basically said, "Here, you take it. We don't want it anymore." And they basically dumped the NWA in my lap. We can speculate as to why that happened, but that's what happened. And so I almost felt like I had a baby and dropped it at my doorstep. So what are you going to do? You're going to let the baby go, leave the baby to die in the elements, or are you going to take care of the baby? I took care of the baby. And so I grabbed the bull by the horns and, started to figure out what I could do to try to turn the company around. And I've just been doing my best to do that ever since then. So that's really the story in a nutshell.
Well, it's really interesting how it fell into your lap. And excuse me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Is it Ronquillo or Ronquillo?
Yeah, Chris Ronquillo. He was
Ronquillo,
one of
okay.
the partners. Yeah.
So when you guys got this, here you've got this 50-year-old legendary company that is basically on resuscitation right about now. How did you go about, I guess, figuring out the long-term game plan for this company going forward? And I know you've kind of changed the business model a little bit, understanding that we're never going to get back to the territory days again. We've got a world-conquering entity out there that we deal with now, and that's just not going to happen. How did you, I guess, determine who did you talk to in helping to determine the direction of the NWA? What made you decide to franchise, I guess, out the name to the NWA instead of the licensing deals that they were, as Paul Heyman put it, put in the community pool or whatever?
Right. Well, how to begin? Licensing. Back when you had the old NWA, you had like a board of directors. There were like, 8 or 9 of them, and getting them to agree on anything, it was extremely difficult. So that's one of the reasons why we moved it into a licensing type thing. We acquired the company, we acquired the brand, so it's not like we're, offering anybody any ownership, and they're buying any ownership in the company. So while we do, actually, and Chris Ronquillo is now no longer with the company. We had a buyout just a few months ago, and we really do appreciate all the efforts that he did early on in the company. He did a lot for us, but he's gone in a different direction. But one of the virtues of franchising is just credibility. You get instant credibility when you put that brand out there. And you mentioned you were talking about sports entertainment, and and things like that. Well, the NWA is not sports entertainment. We are professional wrestling. We don't see ourselves as competition for WWE. We respect what they've done. They've been very successful, in business. But we just simply believe that we've got a different product, and we think that there's a different market out there. And there's a certain element of wrestling fan that doesn't watch wrestling on television anymore. I'm one of them who because I wasn't raised on sports entertainment. I was raised on professional wrestling, and that's what I like. And that's when I first went to Japan. I was so impressed by that product, and I realized how closely the New Japan product mirrored the National Wrestling Alliance product. And I realized that if somehow we could put our heads together and bring that style of wrestling to the United States, perhaps in a television medium, eventually in a television medium, that's going to really take off and be the style of the future. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure.
Kind of in a roundabout way, but.
So when you're talking about franchising out, obviously, it's no secret that a few organizations got queasy feet about it, about the change in direction, decided to leave the alliance, arguably the biggest promotion in the NWA at the time, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, took their ball and ran with their TV deal and everything. Do you feel like, Bruce, that it was like you have to take 2 steps back to get the thing going again, or do you feel like you even lost any ground with that happening?
No, absolutely not. We did have to take 2 steps back, and we almost had to get rid of some of the bad promoters out there. So, the loss of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood to us really was not a bad thing. It was a good thing. But there's been a lot of people that have helped us. You were talking about team members, and who are the people that have advised us and stuff like that. And I'd like to acknowledge some of those people if I could. Number one would be James Beard. Number one would be James Beard. He came on board and he's got tremendous expertise from, his background in world-class championship wrestling and Japan and whatnot. He's our director of operations, and, he is a liaison with a lot of our licensee promoters and brings a lot of experience to the table. Behind the scenes, there's been a lot of people that, maybe you guys don't realize that have helped us a lot, that have, one of which I'd like to acknowledge is Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan's a longtime friend of mine. He's known me since I was a kid. Same with J.J. Dillon. He's also been helping us behind the scenes, giving us a lot of advice and counsel. We really appreciate those guys. In fact, both of them were recently named to the National Wrestling Alliance Hall of Fame. So Rob Conway, of course, is our National Wrestling Alliance World Champion. He's been the face of our company for about 2 years. He travels, tirelessly, on behalf of the NWA defending the title. Matt Riviera, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was the owner of Traditional Championship Wrestling, and he's been extremely helpful to us behind the scenes. He's a student of the business. He's a very intelligent young man, heck of a nice guy, honest as the day is long, and has really been forthcoming with a lot of advice and friendship. Let's see, who else? The developer of our website, Will Peaton, has been fantastic. Not only has he, developed our website and our Facebook page, he's a graphic specialist. And then our promoters, Tony Givens, Timmy Thomason, I could go on and on about all the different NWA licensee promoters, but it's a family, and it is an alliance, and we are working together. And while last year, I think I did, this particular year, I concentrated on getting the name out there worldwide. 2015 is going to be domestic. I really need to concentrate on the National Wrestling Alliance domestically, and see how best we can assist our licensee promoters to improve our product and improve our promotions in the United States. And I keep coming back to television. I think television is going to become key, in all of that, and what I'm trying to do actually right now is put together a program that we broadcast on our website that sort of pulls together all of our different promotions, from Australia to England and whatnot, and show some of the very best matches featuring some of the very best wrestlers from the very best promotions in the National Wrestling Alliance. I think that's going to be the very beginning, of it. So I'd also like to acknowledge, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Stu Sachs and Dan Murphy have helped us a lot. They, we've got our NWA rankings in there every month, and Dave Meltzer with the Wrestling Observer has been extremely positive, with regard to the National Wrestling Alliance. And so I just, we're headed up. We're moving forward, and we're very excited about the future.